Kumi, oh my goodness, so good to see you in the flesh. This is
Yeah,
Nature's
yeah,
Newsroom, which is appropriate that Nature's Newsroom should physically reunite us, or reunite us for the very first time, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
For our international audience around the world, will you introduce yourself, tell them who you are, what you do, and why you at COP26?
My name is Kuni Naidoo. I'm from South Africa. I was an anti-apartheid activist from the age of 15. I've recently led Greenpeace International and Amnesty International. I'm currently the Global Ambassador, a voluntary position for Africans Rising for Justice, Peace and Dignity, African-wide social movement. And I am a fellow with the Bosch Academy in Berlin at the moment, where I'm doing a reflection on the question of why is activism failing and what needs to change, as well as how to bring the worlds of arts and culture and the world of activism together.
News comes out of COP26 every single day. What are the stories that the news media are not picking up on, that we should be focusing on, that you're not seeing?
So the one sad reality, as somebody who's attended far too many COPs, is that this is the most elitist, white and northern COP that there's ever been. As Mary Robinson, the former president of Ireland, puts it, she says, it's male, it's pale, and it's stale, right? And if we don't have the right people in the room, if we don't have those people from Pacific Island countries negotiating here and so on, then we, in sufficient numbers, then those that are most vulnerable, those that have contributed least to the problem and paying the first and most brutal price, don't have voice when they should have. And I think the media needs to lift up that contradiction, that those countries that contributed most to the problem are those that are dominating the conversations and therefore will dominate the outcome of what we should do. But there's another very frightening fact that will surprise many people. Do you know which is the biggest delegation at the COP?
I would say the UK, because it's hosted by the UK.
Most of us would say that. I would have said that as well. But there is a delegation here which is twice the size of the UK government's delegation. And it's about 520 strong by the UNFCCC's own numbers. And that is, there are more than 500 lobbyists from the oil and gas sector that are in this negotiations. Not only that, they, from Paris and many of the other negotiations, they actually fund the aspects of the COP, right? Now just put an image in your mind. It's like if Alcoholics Anonymous was having their global conference and they invited the alcohol industry to fund it, right? Because we have to be clear. Climate change is not something that's just happening. It's happening because the oil, coal, and gas sector, even though they have known for multiple decades that their industry is causing carbon pollution and contributing to climate change, they hid the information. And not only that, they spent billions and billions of dollars contaminating the public conversation. And let's be blunt, in many, many countries around the world, these three industries actually own our governments. So we need to be asking the question, how do we expect to get a just, legitimate outcome of this place when it's dominated by the very people that contribute to the problem? And I think the media has a role to expose this to the ordinary people.
As an activist, give me a headline for Adaptation Day out of COP26.
Well, again, if I were to choose two words, I would say broken promises, right? In 2009, at the COP in Copenhagen, we fought so hard for 100 billion pounds per year, per year to go into a green climate fund, right? It's 2021. That has not yet happened. So there are lots of talk here about monies that rich countries are contributing and so on to help with adaptation, but we're not actually seeing it. And there's been a delay, multiple delays and so on. And we want to be very clear as people from poor countries around the world. We're not asking rich countries to give us charity. We're not asking them to be kind. We are saying to them two things. You have a climate debt. You built your economies on a dirty energy system, and you push that on us through colonization and so on. And we are saying, given that you have benefited, your economy has grown in the way that it has because of a dirty energy system, and now that the world, and you know, see, we got also a problem when we think about adaptation as well,
Kuni,
of climate
this
apartheid.
is your headline.
Yeah, so my, sorry.
Your headline turned into a documentary.
Yeah, sorry. My headline is money that has been promised, which has not been delivered, we have to come out of this COP with a clear pathway about countries that did not contribute, how can they get the resources? And I'm saying we're not asking for charity. We're asking them to pay their climate debt. And importantly, the sad thing is, it's shocking that powerful countries don't realize that it's only a matter of time before they will suffer. So we're asking them to invest in themselves. Supporting those countries that are suffering now is not just charity, it's also helping yourself, because the climate crisis doesn't respect boundaries.
That's the news interview. I'm going to ask you one question, one thought for Nature for Climate, because they're looking ahead to the next COP, which is going to be in Egypt. And your explanation, your description of COP26, I'm wondering, once there's a COP that's based on the African continent, what difference will that make?
On the face of it, one shouldn't expect massive changes because the structures are still UNFCCC structures. But given that we are calling it out, many of us, and you know, people like Mary Robinson and all are calling it out right now, and given that we have a COP presidency that does have a little bit power, of course, we would hope that the next COP is one that has 3 words in it: more diverse, more inclusive, and must exhibit more a sense of urgency than this COP is exhibiting.